what's going on, guys? Aaron Perley from HAP Fishing. I just wanted to talk to you a little bit today about the first tournament together for my brother and I of the year. It was in late April, and it was on Candlewood Lake, the home of the giants, the smallies, the largemouth. I mean, this place is insane. You need sometimes on a 5-bag fish limit, sometimes you need about 24 to 25 pounds just to even take a check. I mean, the place is great. You know, the week before that we did this tournament, the 8-fish bag limit was around 36 pounds. That's a good bag of fish for Northeast waters, especially in Connecticut, you know, or anywhere around here. It's an awesome, awesome bag of 8 fish. But as we prepared and geared up, when we got up to the lake, we saw and we talked to a lot of the guys that were around in the parking lot and whatnot, and they were saying that the place is on fire. You know, Candlewood's a place where they have tournaments from basically every day in April, every day in May, and almost every day in June, the first 2 weeks of June. So it gets a lot of pressure. I mean, it's a big lake, but it gets a lot of pressure, okay? And the water temp was anywhere between 48 and 53 degree water. We found those variables around the lake. Now, when we went out and we started talking to guys in the parking lot and guys on the water, whatnot, that knew us and knew Justin and wanted to talk to him, you know, how you been, what's going on, you know, how's fishing this year? Most of these guys were saying, you know, they're loaded. They came up, a lot of them made a big push, you know, we're smacking them in, you know, 3 to 4 feet of water, 5, 6 feet, you know, smacking them on jerk baits, smacking them on chatterbaits, throwing crankbaits, you know. They're hitting them. The guys were saying they were getting bags all week long, you know. So we took that and we were like, all right, well, that's good. You know, we have a whole bunch of spots that can mimic that, but, you know, is that going to be our predominant pattern? And the reason why I'm doing this video is because I want to explain to you one of my videos that I had before this, a couple videos back for the Bassmasters Classic. I just want to reiterate what happened when I said Bassmaster Classic's possible pattern, okay? When we went out pre-fishing for that day, we only had one day to pre-fish, okay? We went into these areas where there were, you know, 3 to 5, 36 feet of water and with a little bit of grass on them, snapping jerk baits, you know, running a bladed jig. We're catching them, you know, we were catching them great. And we came into this one spot that, I mean, it was loaded, absolutely loaded. Loading the boat, probably between 20 casts, we probably had 12 fish out of 20 casts. All good fish, all 3-pounders. You know, we were like, okay. And I said to my brother, I said, I'm telling you, this, we should start here in the morning. He's like, no. I'm like, what do you mean no? He's like, it's not gonna last. And I said to myself, I was like, you really think so, man? He's like, yeah, absolutely. It's not gonna last. Go to a couple other places, see guys still catching fish. Talk to guys on the water, how you making out? Doing great, load them, they're stacked everywhere. What happened was the first wave came up, just like down in the Classic. The first wave came up and they were sitting there, okay? Guys were burning their fish left and right. They're catching them all week, but they're burning their fish out, okay? They got their first wave and they're just plucking them and sticking them. In fact, the place that I just mentioned that I said, let's start here first, my brother said, we're not even gonna hit this spot tomorrow. And I said to myself, I was like, well, why, you know? We start going around the lake. My brother pulls into the part of the lake, one of the big arms, is the Sherman arm. You know, he looks at his phone. He's going over what's going on. He's like, all right, looks for the next day. Now, the day we went out, it was sunny, had some waves, you know, had some wind out there and whatnot. Blue skies, the whole 9 yards. And what happened was there was a lot of fish that were still suspending in deeper water. Justin looked at the weather for the next day. It's going to be raining, cold, big cold front coming in, okay? And the winds were anywhere between 12 to 15 mile an hour winds. So as he's looking through his phone, he puts his phone down and he looks over at me and he goes, I think we'll be all right. And I was like, what's up? He's like, I think we're gonna have a pretty decent bag tomorrow. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, these guys all here burning bank that are grabbing their, you know, best fish now, whatever, hitting their fish, making sure they're there. These guys aren't even gonna be a factor tomorrow. And I said to him, I was like, you think so? He goes, yeah. He's like, they're burning up their fish and this weather coming in, the cold front and everything else like that. And, you know, the first wave, they're just plucking them now. And we have a different strategy to go by. Now, like I said, the strategy that we had was basically the same strategy that I used in that video of what you can do, okay? When we knew the wind was coming in, there was going to be a cold front, okay? It was going to be raining, the whole 9 yards. It was going to be a terrible day. My brother, the day before, we started going into all these different little spawning coves that we're going to be doing spawning coves. Neither one of us made a cast. All we did was just look at the graph. I looked at my graph in the back, and he looked at his graph on the front. Just trolling in and out. Trolling, looking. Trolling, looking. Trolling, looking. All right, let's go. That's it. Just, all right, let's go. And I said, all right. He's like, you know what? He's like, yeah, I know what I want to do. I'm like, okay. I was like, can we at least hit this spot, you know, tomorrow, being that we got a lot of good fish right here? He goes, if you want to hit it, that's fine. He's like, but he's like, we're not going to get anything here tomorrow. And I said, are you sure? And he's like, absolutely. He's like, they're not going to hit. There's no way they're going to hit. He was 100% right. We went to the hotel. We looked at the map, did a layout of everything we just marked the day before. He said, this is what we're hitting. We're going to go out. We're not going to hit any of the shallow water. We're going to fish anywhere between 8 and 12. And that's where we're going to start getting hit. So I said, okay, let's load up. Let's see what we got. And exactly what I said on that video is what we started doing. And we started waffling them, okay? Wind, everything. We launched out that morning. I mean, there were wakes, just, 2-3 footers, you know. Guys that fish 30 feet of water weren't even a factor anymore, even if they had spot lock or whatever else, you know. Spot lock keeps you in the place, but the way they're fishing it, it's so hard to feel that bite on big fish, you know, in deep water like that, with the wind and the wakes and everything else like that. Those guys were wiped out, weren't even a factor. Next group of guys, all the guys that burnt all their water with bladed jigs and jerk baits in that shallow water, did horrible the next day. We saw the same guys, they did horrible. They said they couldn't get a bite. What we did was basically what I told you in the last video. We went with deep diving, being that you had the bladed jig. This is the Live X Revenge, all right, from Mega Bass. It's got that front nose that I was telling you about, just like a bladed jig. When a bladed jig comes at you, it waves like this. This stays down and goes like this, but it'll stop and suspend in the deeper column. So when you're setting your boat up closer to the bank and throwing out into deeper water alongside big rock bluffs or the longest dock on a point or the longest dock in a row of docks, they were sitting there, okay? So this bait called a lot of them up, and then we would clean them off with actually a 110, a Vision 110 jerkbait. This one right here, with the particular one I'm using right here, this was the SG Shad. And the other one that was really, really biting very well was the Mossback Golden Shad in the Live X Revenge, okay? The great thing about these, they get down very deep, and then they suspend. They can stop. So just like, and instead of like a bladed jig where you burn it, and when you stop it, it just doesn't do anything, this will stop. So you just burnt it and stopped it on a dime, okay? And most of the time when I was using this bait, casting it out into the deeper water, I'd throw it out, burn it, stop, jerk. Burn it, stop, jerk. Burn, jerk. Half turn, boom, boom, smack it. Rip the rod out of your hand. Granted, they weren't the biggest of fish, but they were hitting and they were chasing it and they were just pounding it, you know. We've had so many multiple threes that we were culling all day just trying to get ounces here and there. The 4 pound, we lost so many 4 and 4.5 pounders. I can't even tell you how many we lost just shaking the hooks. They were so hot that they didn't want to know anything about it. You couldn't get them in the net. You couldn't. You can land every 3 pounder you wanted to. Fortunately, you saw the picture. We got the 7.34 largemouth. He clobbered it, but he came in. I mean, he was strip and drag the whole 9 yards. It was great to have him. You know, the day before we had a couple largemouth that were in the 5 range. You know, but by doing that and throwing it out to the deeper bank and bringing it back in the 12 to 8 feet, you just opened up a whole nother water column that the other guys weren't fishing, because the days before they were relying on that first wave of fish, but they were plucking all their first wave of fish that pushed up. That second wave is going to eventually start pushing up also, and then a third wave, and so on, and then they're going to go into their spawnings, you know. Anywhere you had a deep drop-off bluff, or you had a big point with a nice spawning flat and a channel coming in, a little bit of current, you know. Like I said, you had between 48 and 52 to 53 degree water, but the part of the day, the wind was so bad that it blew all of that cold water into the warm water areas turn those fish off like that, okay? We went over to that spot that I was mentioning. I said, Just, come on, we gotta actually try to get a better upgrade, this and that. We got all solid 3s right now. Let's try to get, try to get some 4s. We're losing 4s left and right, and we knew there was good fish at that point. Maybe some bigger ones moved up. Just like clockwork, like he said. We got there, not one of them bit. We spent about 15, 20 minutes on it, and he was right. And you know what? In my mind, I should have listened to him right away, because we could have saved time by hitting other spots, but he was dead on. I apologize for that interruption. My phone rang and it stopped recording. I'm not using a GoPro. I use my phone. It's the only way I can do it. And doing the clips and everything and only getting 30 seconds at a time when you're doing your GoPro clip and saving this makes fishing horrible and this and that. But the important thing is to take from this is that when something is working and working great, and the conditions are going to change the next day, have a secondary plan, okay? Because that can mean the difference of going out there and donating your money to the day to, going in a tournament and not getting anything and actually getting something back from it. Regardless, it's a learning experience, especially, for me, he was 100% right. Those fish didn't bite. They pounded them the first day, wouldn't pound them again. So when you go into a buddy tournament, with your partner, your brother, whoever you're with, communicate. Communicate as much as you can. You're a team. You go out there, you make decisions. You make decisions together, and you just, try to come in with a good bag. Get a good strategy together, and that's the bottom line. Hope you like this video. Enjoy yourself. Good luck on the water, and be safe. I'm Aaron Pirelli. Take care.